Izuku would glide through the air as he moves from rooftop throughout all of Arkham City. Looking down at the ground below him, he could see the rival gangs battling in the streets, both quirk and non-quirk user alike. There are a lot of awful things you see in this business, a lot of things that make your stomach churn, that make you see the dark sides of humanity. For Izuku, he always had this ideal version of heroes and villains, believing that there were standards, that there were rules, that there were some things you just didn't do. But through his young hero career, Izuku was beginning to see that a lot of those rules just didn't apply. There were so many ways to hurt a man, to kill a man, to do things that were just beyond all comprehension of humane, especially with a quirk. You ever thought of setting someone on fire? There are a lot of ways to do it. A lot of ways to freeze a person, a lot of ways to cut a person, to blow them to smithereens, to rip them limb from limb and tear them to shreds. This was the dark side of humanity on full display for Izuku. It was hell on earth, and even more so, it made him question who on God's green earth could fund and create a place like this. Just what in the world was Dr. Hugo Strange trying to do? What was he trying to prove with all of this? All the same, shutting this place down was his top priority. He would move toward the eastern district of Arkham City, to the Sionis steel mill. From a distance, Izuku could tell that there were guards patrolling all over the now clown-colored steel mill itself. It seemed this was the territory for the Clown Prince of Crime, and Bruce was assisting him with any information that he could dig up. It seems that the two girls you ran into are his granddaughters. At least, presumably so. Presumably, Izuku asked. In the database, it says that they're the grandchildren of the Joker's former associate, Harley Quinn. They're twin girls, known as Dila and Deidre Dennis, but they call themselves the Dee twins. Do they have quirks? They do. Dila Dennis, quirk, hair control. Despite the short length you saw her sporting earlier, she has the ability to grow and shrink her hair on a dime. She can morph and control it, turning it to any shape and will that she sees fit. Also, her hair is said to be as strong as steel, not easy to cut. Okay, what about Deidre? Her quirk, infinite stomach. When she activates her quirk, her regular stomach transforms into a different one, a second stomach that acts as a personal pocket dimension. She can basically put, anything in her mouth and store it inside of that pocket dimension. Rumor is it's said to be nearly infinite, so theoretically, she could fill her stomach full of anything and everything. So there's no telling what she's got packed inside of her frame. It's a definitely unique quirk, to say the least. During your time, did the Joker ever? No. Joker never displayed any signs of a quirk. Not in all the times that I encountered him. I've read about the last time. Was it true? Bruce would recline in his chair, recalling the last time that he and the Joker went toe-to-toe. It was little over 15 years ago. It was what Bruce would consider one of those long nights. It was the typical scenario. Batman had once again caught and defeated the Joker, all in a day's work, driving the Batmobile to a place known as Arkham Asylum. However, this was just the beginning. That night, the Joker had sprung a trap and had become the one running the asylum. This led to the epic encounter between the Batman and the Joker. Atop the roof of Arkham Asylum, the Joker, who had stolen the Titan formula used by one of his former rogues, the one known as Bane. The Joker transformed himself into a giant brooding monster and attempted to turn Bruce into the same. As they battled, Bruce would defeat the Joker once again for what was believed to have been a final time. But whatever the Joker had injected into himself, it was said to have had more lasting harm than one could realize. From then on, the Joker seemingly faded from existence, until finally, presumably, he died. Died in his cell. Of course, no one came to the funeral. Even those who were said to have been Joker loyalists, Joker supporters, it just seemed like the end of an era. Quinn had long since left him by that point, looking to start over and build a life for herself. Rumor had it that she had gone on to have a child with the Joker, although that was mere conjecture that could never be proven or disproven. Heck, even with the Didi twins, it wasn't confirmed whether or not they were blood related to the Joker in any way. Although they had blood relations to Harley Quinn, whether or not they were grandchildren or nieces or cousins, well, that was an entirely different story. Quinn, for the most part, had disappeared off the map. Rumor was she was shacking up these days with another former supercriminal known as Poison Ivy. It was believed that Ivy had gone off and found some island all to herself, a place where she could live with her plants in private, a compromise she made with Bat long ago. She couldn't have the entire world, but this island would be her own private domain. And Bruce had no problem funding it. After all, he had the money. So, you could say that this was like a prison of sorts, although for Ivy, it was her own personal Garden of Eden that no one dare visit. Although it wasn't uncommon for Quinn to rendezvous there from time to time. Did she and Quinn have a thing? Well, no one really knew, and as long as they weren't causing any mischief or anything of that nature, then there was no point in worrying about it. But still, when you have people popping up claiming to have any blood relation to the Joker or to anyone affiliated with the Joker, it's not something that you can take lightly, or something that you can simply ignore. Myths have a way of running wild, a way of taking on a life of their own. And now, the situation was only continuing to escalate. As Izuku would infiltrate the steel mill, he could see that it was crawling with henchmen, gun-toting to say the least. There was no reason to get into an immediate confrontation with any of them, so instead he chose to lurk in the shadows to keep his distance. However, off in the distance, he heard what appeared to be a payphone that was ringing. It was peculiar to say the least, but it was nothing really worth getting into. For now, he would continue to ascend through the various buildings of the steel mill before finding the potential entrance. It seems the only way in will have to be through the furnace, Bruce would say. The furnace, huh? All right, then. Izuku would rocket up into the furnace before descending down, grappling onto a ledge before falling into the smelting lava that was being protrude underneath. He would move through the rusted areas of the furnace of the steel mill, before eventually finding the opened area to enter into the main facility. Moving through the crates and vents, he would descend underneath, finding where the gathering location for the Joker's crew was. And, just as expected, the Dee twins seemed to be the ones running things. He watched from the shadows of the underground as the head office door would open. The twin girls standing side by side, the one known as Dila displaying her quirk as she held the doctor in the air, suspended by nothing but her long, thick rope of hair that was holding her in place. "We promised you entertainment, fellas. Here." Izuku watched as Dila would drop the doctor known as Stacy Baker to the ground. "That quack couldn't fix our poor Mr. J. It's a shame. Pops deserves so much better. Doesn't he, Dila?" "That's right, Deidre. We should show her what happens when you fail good old Papa J. All right, fellas, have at it." The gangsters were all getting ready to surround her. Izuku knew that he had to think fast. Perhaps he could cut through the grates and pull her out quickly. That would give away his location, but it would be the best way to get in and out as quickly as they could, hopefully before they were pursued. But before they even had a chance to try anything, for some reason Deidre would stop them, stating that Papa J wanted this one to suffer a little while longer, and instead would take her to the smelting chambers, for whatever reason. From there, the girls would start barking out orders. Some were being sent to deal with the other crews. Others were sent to go find someone called the Snowman. Bruce, just through hearing those words alone, a flood of nostalgia came washing back to him. Although that nostalgia was also mixed with a sense of fear and worry. If they were referring to the Snowman, it could mean a number of things, or it could mean someone in particular. But why would he be here? What would he have to do with the Joker? And it seemed as though they were on bad terms. For now, though, Izuku would go to where the doctor was being kept. It was another side office inside of the steel mill. Izuku would jet up to the gargoyles, sitting up top and watching as the gunmen moved around, patrolling the area and holding the doctor hostage. One by one, he would make his way, picking them off. He would glide to a corner of the room, sneaking up behind one of the guardsmen and wrapping him in a chokehold, silently passing him out, before immediately ducking under the floorboarding, moving around to the next area, and before the other one saw it coming, a double takedown would take them both out. Seemingly giving away his location, he jetted back up to the gargoyles. There were now only 3 gunsmen, 2 staying with the hostage while 1 went out to check. Izuku would move from gargoyle to gargoyle and getting into position until the would-be gunman was far enough away. As he flipped upside down, he would use the inverted takedown, grabbing him from top of the ledge and dangling him from above with his grapple hook. The 2 gunmen now became scared, but one had to stay with the hostage, with the other one going out. "Screw this, it's everyone for themselves. I don't even have a stinking quirk, for crying out loud." "What? But you had one. I had to deal with that damn doctor. I don't know what the hell he did to me. Made me freaking regular. Now I gotta carry this stupid gun." "Well, I'm not going out there. I'm staying here with the doc." "Screw you." The gunman would go from out of his hiding area, searching around to see who had done it. "Where are you? Where are you, you stinking bat? I'm not afraid of you. You hear me? I'm not a... With that one taken down, only one more remained. One gunman who was standing with his back turned to a glass panel with Dr. Baker in front of him. Don't get any ideas, Doc. Ain't nobody coming here to save you. That would-be Batman, he's as good as dead. And you're stuck here all alone with me. Oh, God, please, don't hurt me. Oh, I'm gonna do a lot of stuff. And I'm gonna hurt you real bad, but I won't kill you. No, that'll be too easy. I want to have my fun. And then, maybe with whatever's left of you, perhaps I'll let you go. Though I doubt... Izuku broke through the panel and took out the last attacker, before moving back in and saving the doctor. Thank you. I'm here to help. I can't believe it. After all this time, I heard stories about the Batman growing up. I never thought I'd see the Batman. Why was the Joker trying to hold you up? What's his deal? He's not looking too well. I did what I could, but I don't think there's any helping him. Any helping him? What's his condition? Awful. Real awful. Izuku, what are you doing? Bruce would ask. You found the doctor. Now you just need to... I'm sorry about this. Izuku? We need to figure out what Protocol 10 is. This might be our best lead to figuring that out. I promise you, I'll be okay. Izuku, wait! Izuku would turn off the communicator. It wasn't like him to go rogue. He was, in all words, the ideal soldier in a way of speaking. Whenever Bruce needed or wanted something, Izuku was always there to do it. He hardly ever had a reason to go against the man that had trained him. But Izuku could tell that even though Bruce had his worries, now wasn't the time to shrink back in fear. If they were going to figure out what was going on, now was the time. They couldn't afford to waste it holding back. With that said, Izuku would tell the doctor to stay hidden, and that he'd be back for her. He would quickly move back into the main area of the steel mill once again, attempting to head to the main office. However, the moment he climbed up to the ledge, a large, one-armed brute would kick him back down, followed by him and flanked by a bunch of cronies. Thankfully enough, Izuku was prepared for this, although the one-armed brute in question, he wasn't like the others. Because for one thing, his hair was on fire. Don't think you're getting up here, little bat? Yeah, meet our good old friend, Mr. Hammer. He's gonna teach you some manners. Izuku watched as Mr. Hammer would use his power in full display. Holding up his singular right arm, fire would begin to emanate from his fist, but the fire quickly took form into what appeared to be the shape of a large clown-sized mallet hammer. It seemed as though he was a pyrokinetic who had the ability to create constructs from his flames, and whenever those constructs made contact with anything, a large explosion quickly followed. Isn't that familiar? Izuku would activate his shock gauntlets. They were built into the suit, in case he ever came across any form of old machinery that needed a quick jolt of electricity. But they also had another feature. They could shoot out bolts of electricity, not enough to kill, but definitely enough to stun. Izuku would stand guard against Mr. Hammer, as he would take giant leaps swinging that flaming mallet towards him. While dealing with the other goons simultaneously, he would shoot out jolts of electricity to shock and stun Mr. Hammer, slowing him down long enough and allowing him to deal with the other grunts of Joker's forces. As they fought, Izuku would look to try to slow them down as quickly as he could, eventually picking them all off one by one so that he could have Mr. Hammer in a one-on-one fight. By the time he had managed to do so, Mr. Hammer had become more adjusted to his attacks and to his pattern. Before Izuku could shoot out another strike, Mr. Hammer would throw out a ball of fire straight towards him, freeing him just long enough to be able to go in for a hit, knocking Izuku down to the ground before preparing to stomp his head in and squish it under the soles of his bare feet. Izuku, however, would leap into the air, giving him an uppercut before delivering a series of combo strikes to the chest and to the lower kidney area. For Izuku, he adapted to the fighting style of not going for the knockout blow right away. You had to work on the body, because no matter how much you trained, no matter how strong you were, you couldn't train your internal organs. Enough kidney shots could take down any man, and unfortunately Mr. Hammer was no different. He swung his hammer wildly, attempting to strike Izuku but missing every which turn. Finally, Izuku would deliver the finishing combo, kicking out his knees from under him, causing him to buckle, delivering a few more strikes to the lower area of the gut and the stomach, kicking him down to the shoulder blades, and then finally leaping into the air and delivering a back-heeled kick to his head, knocking him down to the ground. At that same moment, Izuku could hear what appeared to be crying. He quickly headed up to the main office, and there he saw Dila and Deidre, both crying at the feet of someone sitting in a wheelchair. In anger, Dila would have her hair extend towards Izuku, who would dodge the tendril hair-like whips before using the bat claw to tie all of her hair up, throwing her around and then flinging her against the wall. As for Deidre, she opened her infinite stomach dimension, pulling out a spiked baseball bat, attempting to go for a swing. Izuku, however, held up his wrist gauntlets that protruded with the bat-like claws on the side. The bat would break in half instantly as he kicked her over as well. "Why?" Dila would say. "Why are you so mean?" "It's true," Deidre would say. "All of it's true. Our Pops, he was a good man, and yet all you would do was hound him for years. He was just trying to show the truth of the world, to make people laugh, to make them happy. But you can't allow that, can you? You hounded him so much, and now he's... Shut up." Izuku would analyze the body with detective mode, Bruce looking in intently. Was this it? Was this really the end? There was no way. After all this time. But there was something else. His body, it looked... Why was there no... Surprise! Yep, you're definitely not my bat. You fell for the old fake Joker gag. Izuku looked up as Deidre would produce yet another baseball bat from her infinite stomach. "Batters up!" Meanwhile, Jinx was moving about through the streets of Arkham City. dishing out tolls of bad luck. You see, Jinx had to take up a different kind of work. She wasn't a criminal per se. She just was a hired hand. She was like her own little detective agency. She would find you whatever you were looking for, as long as it was legal and didn't hurt anyone. There was this rich old lady who liked cats. Her name was Miss Selena. You see, she had an old apartment in the Arkham City area. Miss Selena Kyle, a rather luxurious woman who enjoyed the finer things in life. She used to have a life of crime. You might have known her as the Catwoman. Well, she turned from that life. Instead, she enjoyed her favorite pastime, buying and collecting, and as well, enjoying art galas. But you see, there was this thing that was itching at her for the longest time. Back in the day, when she had her apartment, there were a lot of important goods that she slipped her mind and she left there. And she needed someone to pick it up. But when she heard about this whole Arkham City gig, she knew that good old Professor Hugo Strange, when criminals get captured, a lot of their possessions get taken from them and get put into a holding area. A lot of valuable goods also. So, why not kill two birds with one stone? All of this bat stuff coming back into play. And trust and believe, Selena knew who was behind the mask. That wasn't her Bruce. It seemed as though he'd finally settled down and found a replacement. She'd given him a call from time to time, even in their old age, despite never seeing eye to eye on most things. The love she had for him, it could never go away. She could never deny it no matter what she did. She was his cat, and he was her bat, her dark knight, and so much more. But, to make a long story short, she needed someone to rob Mr. Strange, and Jinx seemed to be the perfect one for the job. Something about her shtick with her quirk and bad luck. She could get behind that. After all, what was more unlucky than a black cat? She even thought about taking the girl under her wing, having her as an assistant. Perhaps she might be able to get back into the game. In the meantime, Izuku would slowly awaken, finding himself strapped to a chair. He felt a searing pain in his right arm, but he couldn't tell what it was. Dila was attempting to pull off his mask, but a sickly Joker would pull her back. "Get away from him, sweetie!" "But we want to know who he is, Papa." "It's all right, my dear. No one's ever who you think they are." "So, it was all a lie, huh?" Izuku would say. "There's nothing wrong with you." "Nice of you to say, kid. But you of all people, especially given who trained you, I'll give you your first lesson. When it comes to dealing with me, there's absolutely nothing wrong. But there is for you. Take my blood, for example. I wish someone would. This stuff's been killing me. And even in the day of modern medicine, feigned quirk users and things of the like, it's almost like no one wants to help. And why should I care? Can you hear me, Bats? I know you can. Probably got a little camera in there. It's been a while. I know you probably don't care about me. You probably think I'm just gonna shrivel off and die. But there's a little bit of me inside of your boy. Izuku looked in horror to see an IV, a blood bag, searing blood right into his veins. Now, don't tell me this isn't what you always wanted. Personally, I wish I could have shared this moment with you. Our bodily fluids mixing together, becoming one. But I won't be alone. The good citizens of Japan will follow me because I've shipped out my blood all across to various hospitals. Soon enough, this city, this country, it'll gasp on its last breath unless you help me get my cure. What cure? Izuku would ask. I nearly had it. I was working with that blasted snowman and then he double-crossed me. You find him, you find the cure. I'd hurry if I were you. The clock's ticking. Hold on tight. The Joker would wheel Izuku's chair out of a broken window, causing him to descend down to the ground below. I'll be in touch, kid! Show me what you can do! You think he'll pull it off? Dila would ask Dietrich. I don't know. I give him 30 minutes. Don't say such things, my dear. Everyone needs a chance to prove themselves. After all, the night is still young. And there's so much that needs to be done. The saga between the Clown Prince of Crime and the Great Dark Knight, the Bat. It never dies. Joker would grin, his face crackling and breaking away as he looked towards the broken window as the cold air bellowed and the snowfall descended. Time to see what you got, kid. This concludes My Hero Academia, The Dark Knight Returns. What If Deku Was Batman? Season 3, Part 2 of the Arkham City arc. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. I do want to take this time to give you all a brief update on the Naruto DxD situation. I haven't given up on the series and I do plan on continuing it. But before I do, I want to take some time to touch up on some of the older videos in that series. As you all have told me, the audio quality for some of my videos in the past haven't always been up to par. So I want to let you all know now that I'm taking the time needed to fix up any videos that have audio issues or things of the like. So if you can spot any, please tell me and let me know ahead of time so that I can get them fixed for you. And when all of that's said and done, later on in the summer, we will continue with the Naruto DxD series. But for now, that's going to conclude the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time. Protocol 10 will commence in 9 hours.